Tea time on day two. We spoke at lunch, or rather dinner, still getting used to that, on ESPN Cricket for Match Day on day two with Akash Chopra, that this session could give us a clearer indication of which team is ahead. Now 152 behind, and that seems like what, 5 sessions worth of batting if the average run rate of this test match is anything to go by. So let's go to Akash. India would enjoy that session. The fact that they got Steve Smith early, their noses in front, Akash.
100%, and they haven't really dropped too many catches in this session. They've actually taken a couple of them quite nicely. One was, of course, Ajinkya Rahane in slips. Then Virat Kohli diving to his right to dismiss Cameron Green. 3 wickets, 3 big wickets, suddenly 5 down. India definitely now have their noses ahead. And that's what happens. We criticized India yesterday. We were talking about the scoring is just too slow. The moment a wicket falls, or the opposition is right back in it, or rather they've never gone away. The same can now be said about Australia, that they've moved at a snail's pace as well. Of course, we'll hear more from the batsmen that why this pitch has been so difficult to score off. Are there no opportunities at all? Can you not play on the up? Of course, half volleys and long hops are not going to happen. This is Test cricket, but is there no way to actually accelerate scoring? That is something that's been the feature of this Test match in the first 5 sessions.
All right, let's talk about the big moments in the game. And there's no bigger moment than the wicket of Steve Smith, who faced 22 balls after the dinner break, did not add to his one not out at that break, and Ashwin gets him. What's happened on that ball? What's Ashwin got right? What's Smith got wrong? Your analysis, Akash.
See, Ashwin was getting some amount of turn, not a great deal, but yes, enough to keep the batsman slightly curious that the ball is going to come back in a little. And the one that got him out, that's Steve Smith, that went away with the arm, was bowled at a flatter trajectory and was slightly quick in the air. So the telltale was there. The moment the ball left Ashwin's hand, you knew that the ball is actually going to follow its path and not really deviate after pitching towards the batsman. Just that Steve Smith went backwards instead of going forward. It wasn't really a ball that needed to be played off the back foot, but that's what Steve Smith does. A lot of players, actually modern day players, do that. They tend to play their spin off the back foot a lot more deep inside the crease. This one went away, took the outside edge, and a good catch, because catches off the back foot are always tougher. There is a bit of a blind spot, because when you're fielding to an off spinner, you're pretty straight. You're almost in a straight line and not slightly away towards gully, as opposed to when you're fielding against a leg spinner. So when you're so straight, almost like first slip position, and there is a batsman who's gone deep inside the crease, there is a keeper in between. So these are tough catches. Rahane made it look very easy. And then finally one was actually taken, because first we saw everything getting dropped.
Yeah, now let's go to that. In terms of just the timing of that wicket, the fact that it comes pretty soon after that Prithvi Shaw drop of Labuschagne, there were already a couple of chances that went down in the first session. Tell me what that would have done to the Indian team. Must have had that feeling of, oh, we're doing a lot of things right, but we're just letting ourselves down in the field.
That's true. And see, you can shove everything under the carpet. Sometimes when you see a guy of the stature of Steve Smith getting dismissed. Yes, of course, you want to dismiss Marnus Labuschagne as well. You know that he can score runs, but you've not seen it firsthand. So what you've seen is you've been tormented by a guy called Steve Smith. He becomes unstoppable when he plays against India, irrespective of the color of the ball or the color of the clothing. And he is that guy that you want to dismiss. And once you dismiss him, you're buoyant. You know that you're pretty much in the game, and you've dismissed the biggest threat that was there in the Australian camp. And suddenly, of course, you don't forget that you've dropped a lot of catches, but you take a lot of heart from the fact that you took the catch that perhaps, in your opinion, mattered the most. So you've dismissed Steve Smith, the only opportunity he gave, or maybe he also got another opportunity earlier, half a chance, but this one was taken.
Now, R. Ashwin, we're wondering when we'd get to see him and what an impact he's had on his first spell of bowling, or first session of bowling in this series. 3 for 27 from 11. Nathan Lyon bowled 12 in this session yesterday, got the 1 wicket. Just in terms of comparing the two off spinners, what's made Ashwin more effective, or how is it that he's found a way to be so much more threatening when there is criticism at times of Ashwin of not necessarily impacting things overseas immediately as well?
Pace intimidates you, and spin can actually embarrass you. And
Hmm.
that's what I would say when you see the Australian batsman playing Ashwin. Ashwin has bowled well. Take absolutely nothing away from him. He's got some drift in the air. He's got the length right. He's asking the right kind of probing questions. So he's there and thereabouts all the time. But when you look at the response of the batsmen, what are they trying to do? Are they comfortable? Do they have enough confidence in their own defense? You'll find that they were actually, their techniques were quite or rather left a lot to be desired, because they just looked at sea. They had no clue whether the ball was coming in, going straight. Can they actually defend it? Can they go on the offensive? They tried to go on the offensive a bit more, but you just can't go on the offensive in a test match without having some amount of control, or at least an idea of what to expect after the ball has left the hand. So either you're stepping out too soon, and therefore Ashwin has the time to bring the length shot, or you're just stuck at the crease and you're playing a full ball on the back foot. He exposed them. So when you look at Cameron Green, the ball should have been dispatched for a 6 or a 4. Hit
Hmm.
it to Virat Kohli. Come on, that's his debut. That's okay. So we can actually be a bit more lenient.
Yeah.
But when you think about Travis Head was all at sea. He had no idea. So the straight ball hits his pad that comes with the arm. Then he bowls a slower one. He is now trying to play it as if it was once again a similar delivery, but it wasn't. It was much slower in the air. It was an attempted off spinner. He played down the wrong line, gave him a cotton bowl. Steve Smith's dismissal was, of course, very good. But when you look at Payne, nobody has actually looked comfortable against him. And that tells you a lot about Ashwin's control and the quality and the drift and the turn that he gets. But it also tells you the inability to play spin or read spin, and have a or having rather not having a proper response to a spinning ball from the Australian middle order.
Right. Now, in 48 overs, if the run rate is less than 2 an over from Australia at home, one on the boss these day-night tests and be invincible in them. Now, is that just a testament to how good India have bowled, or are you a little bit surprised as to just the lack of, well, you could say domination or aggression or mindset that we're used to seeing from Australia, albeit maybe not the same players? But has that in any way surprised you as to how Australia have approached this entire innings?
It has, and sometimes I don't know that I'm just trying to read between the lines and make sense of
Hmm.
what it must be all about. So the last time when India went there, they played a certain brand of cricket, and they defeated Australia in Australia for the first time. It does stay fresh in your memory. It is something that you always take note of. This is how this team plays, and there is a Bumrah, there is a Shami, there is an Ashwin. Pujara will come and bat, and this is the way to succeed. And these guys are quite potent, and therefore let's rejig our plans. Let's if needed, if necessary, let's go a little conservative, let's go a little cautious. And the first day of days of this test match also just vindicated that point. Stroke play, aggressive cricket, dominance. Perhaps this pitch is not like that. It wasn't like that when we played last also against the same team, albeit in a day game. And they've played a completely different brand of cricket. Against Ashwin, they were trying to be aggressive. They didn't have the wares. But against the faster bowlers, yes, quality bowling. Expect Bumrah and Shami, especially Umesh, can actually be a little wavered from time to time. But you would still get some runs if the ball is not swinging, darting around after pitching. You would expect somebody to actually play on the rise, just show some amount of intent. You've seen nothing. You've seen either just dead defense. Runs are attempted only when the ball is within the stumps and you're trying to flick it, just glance it, use the pace. You're not trying to force the issue at all. So it was a little surprising to see how this Australian batting is set up.
Does it also in some ways put in perspective that maybe it was more on paper that we had a much stronger Australian batting lineup? Once Warner got injured, literally it's all about Smith. Yes, Labuschagne's been very good in the World Test Championship, but he's still new in his career. The openers have been moved around. Wade's gone up. That middle order has a debutant in it, and Labuschagne has had 2 or 3 chances. Does it somewhere tell the Indian bowlers and everyone watching this that there is a huge vulnerability in this Australian batting lineup in case it wasn't known anyway?
See, that's the point. When you're living in a house, for example, you know every single crack in it because you see it every single day, and you think that this can be exposed, this can be exploited, and that's what you do to your own team. You are slightly more critical than you should be, perhaps, because you know the shortcomings, and these are the things that haven't gone right for this team in the past, and this is the recent record, this is what happened in New Zealand, and all of that. You don't forget that, and you build your argument and your analysis around it, and we're all guilty of it. Let's be honest. I'll put my hand up as well. But when you look at the Australian team, of course, you don't delve a lot deeper. You go just on the appearances. A great bowling attack. Steve Smith, Marnus Labuschagne has been scoring a lot of runs in the last 12, 18 months. He has grown in stature, but we have completely discounted the fact that he's not scored runs against India yet.
Yes.
David Warner is not there. There is a very new-looking opening pair. One guy hasn't got a run in the last 6-10 innings. Matthew Wade as an opener, first time ever. Travis Head, for all the runs that he has scored in Test match cricket, healthy average. But none have come against India either. He was there last time around also, and Payne plays only as a keeper, not as a batsman. He's between him and Saha, you don't know who's a better batsman. So when that's the batting lineup. Cameron Green is a debutant. So yes, we were slightly more flattering in terms of either the analyzing Australian team or we just didn't delve deep enough to understand that there are cracks there, and perhaps cracks are slightly bigger than the cracks that we are seeing in our own setup.
They'll be wanting David Warner back pretty fast. It's only the evidence of 1 or 2 sessions of batting. But given that we've seen how hard it is for Australia, does this in some way, assuming conditions haven't changed drastically from yesterday to today, put in perspective how well Kohli and Rahane batted yesterday?
See, pitch is still the same. Pitch is actually a decent pitch to bat on. Middle session is supposed to be a decent session to score runs. The ball is not deviating a lot. Day 1, day 2, the spinners are not getting, it's not a minefield. So if it is not a minefield, you should not be losing 3 or 2 wickets to a spinner in a session. Ideally not. These are good batting conditions, at least for spinners, because you can't just say that it is green, but it has enough for the faster bowlers, and it has got enough for the spinners also. I mean, that's just contradicting your own opinion and observation. These are good batting conditions. So Rahane and Kohli, they were expected to do that, and they did exactly that. It wasn't something which was extraordinary. Of course, in the context of the game, you would rate that innings, or rather that partnership. Even Pujara and Kohli partnership suddenly becomes a lot more important than it actually was. Because you see that they actually was there. We lost only 1 wicket in the second session. Look at Australia, they've lost 3. And suddenly you go into that twilight phase with the opposition right on top. We allowed them to come into the game because of that 1 run out. So when you put all that in perspective, in just single isolation, this context, of course, that those partnerships were crucial. But was that down to extraordinary batting? I'd say no, that was par for the course for a test match in Australia.
Okay, fine. Now let's look ahead to this session. The twilight period approaches. It'll be interesting to see who's batting at that time, whether it's going to be a lower order Australian batting lineup or maybe even the second innings for India. But the tail has come to Australia's rescue in the past. The tail, in many cases, has been India's downfall in opposing teams in the past as well. They are that one bowler short that Australia were. So important, Akash, I guess, that India start this next session too like they did the last, because Cummins can bat, Stark can bat, Lyon can hold his bat.
No, all of them can bat, but the only good thing is that since it's not like India has bowled 80 overs already, it's still very fresh. Bowlers, this is the first test match, first innings. Nobody is tired, so you don't really miss the 5th bowler at all. 4 should be enough to do the job. And Ashwin getting 3 wickets means that you can actually have him bowl to Stark and Cummins and have an in-out sort of field where if you want to attack, there are fielders in the deep, and these are fairly big outfields. So I'm pretty confident. Of course, expect runs. This is Test cricket. This is Australia. All of these guys can bat, like you mentioned. They're not mugs with the bat. So expect some runs. No team gets folded up for 110 in these conditions. So they will score runs, but the shoe is in the other foot now, because Australia had to bat last. They have to bat last. So India conceding a lead of say 20-30 runs, I would have said India is still ahead in the game. Now you are in a position to actually take a considerable, a significant lead. If that can happen, then Australia has to bat last, and they haven't batted very well in the last innings against India recently. So I'm very buoyant. I'm very excited to see how Indian bowlers now come, and even if the tail were to wag a little, it doesn't matter. India will be fine.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what, that Smith wicket, I think, just got everyone out of their seats, because the Smith's average against India in the 90s or 80s, and at home he just doesn't get out cheap. The other way, now that you mentioned Ashwin, I want to just bring up this one point with you. We remember those numbers that we keep bringing up with Ashwin, how effective he is when he gets an early wicket. And that tends to be the one thing that eludes him when he's overseas. He doesn't necessarily strike early, and that patience game comes, doesn't quite work for Ashwin. At times he goes long spells of bowling without being as effective. He gets Smith early. He's a different bowler. He's that kind of bowler, isn't he, Akash? You give him a wicket early, that to a big one, and all of a sudden for the next 10, 11 overs, he could get a wicket any over.
Yes, absolutely. It is true for almost every bowler because an early wicket gives you a lot of confidence, and then the captain also is standing next to you. He's actually standing with you. That okay, you need the field, you need a longer spell. I've got more patience. You get hit for a couple of boundaries, I am fine. But what happens generally overseas is that you're looking at your spinner, you're looking to for a defensive job to be done, and suddenly a 4 goes here, a leak there, and you say, no, I'm actually not getting wickets. I'm not expecting wickets from you, but you're not even restricting the opposition. You're not going at 1.5 runs per over, which is difficult in these conditions because these are not spin friendly or rather spin ready conditions. And then if it is a longish spell, see, Ashwin is not someone who actually puts the body behind the ball. He's more of a finger spinner, shoulder, fingers, and SG test ball helps him because there is the seam is more pronounced, pitches are more conducive, there is a bit more purchase, and he just keeps growing, and it's impossible to actually get him away. And therefore, the kind of success that he gets in India is very difficult to replicate anywhere else. But early wickets in these conditions, of course, it's going to just make him confident, and more importantly, the captain confident that now you can set your field and you can actually bowl a long spell without worrying about a 4 here or a 6 there.
All right, Akash, the Indian team is already out there. I think they can't wait to get out there now. So let's pick up this conversation at the end of the day's play, at which point we should know who is well and truly in front. Can Australia post some kind of fight back? Big thank you to Akash Chopra. We'll get his thoughts on ESPN Cricket for Matchday along with Tom Moody's. So do join us for our live show after Stumps on the network. And remember, if you're watching in the Indian subcontinent, action clips, highlights, all the major happenings from the Adelaide Oval will be on the site, as well as the all-new ESPN Cricket for mobile app. India well and truly ahead. Let's see if they can really press the advantage in this final session of play on day 2.